Good evening, Julian McBain here, and I am bringing you my 12th Saturday vlog. And before we get started, I am still on Toulan. I'm going to be doing some dailies while I chat. For those of you who are watching my EU videos on the regular, this is not an area I have reached in my normal EU series yet. You will see actually me reach this village in Sunday's video. So I actually have like 2 full sets of notes that I wanted to talk about tonight, and I'm going to see how much time I've got because there are 2 very important topics. Well, one's kind of frivolous, but I think it's important, and the other one is, I think, key. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about, including myself in a lot of cases, which I should be punishing myself for. But first, let's start with oh, nope, that's going to be too much of a weapon. First, let's start with what I originally planned on talking about tonight. And so, something I hear a lot of, and I hear this from a number of sources. I hear it from Jordan Peterson. I heard it from motivational sites. There's a couple of motivational YouTube channels I'm subscribed to, Charisma on Command and the Mulligan Brothers, I think it's called. I just subscribed to them. I got to double check the name of the channel, but I think it's the Mulligan Brothers. It's all, you know, it's supposed to drive you to want to succeed and do more and be more successful and things like that. And of course, there's Dan Locke. And so I was watching some of these videos, and pretty much an overall theme with all of them, no matter who it is, it's if you change your thinking, you change your life. And I was like, okay, I can... Oh, shit. Oh, you know what I did? I just forgot to change weapons. There we go. Change your thinking, change your life. Okay, fair enough. So, how do you do that, you know? And it's something I've always struggled with. You know, you grow up learning certain things. You grow up understanding the way the world works for the demographic that you live in, economically, socially. This is why it's so hard to move up the social ladder. It's easy to move down the social ladder. You just make mistakes. Right? You hang out with the wrong people who don't give a shit about you. Moving up is a lot harder because people want to see effort from someone who is maybe not as successful as them, or maybe ran with the wrong crowd for too long. They want to see effort put in by those people before they're going to put any effort back into them. And that makes sense, right? Because a person's time is very important to them. We only have so many minutes here on Earth. We only have so many years to spend with friends and family. And why do you want to hang out with someone that you don't like, or who isn't going to be beneficial to your life? And I know it sounds really cold, but let's be facing it. In a lot of cases, that's what you got. And if you're not hanging out with people that are beneficial to you, even in a social or an emotional context, you're really harming yourself in a lot of ways. And why put yourself under that kind of psychological stress? Why do that kind of damage to your psyche? And so, you know, watching Dan Locke, he's this ridiculous, over-the-top business consultant slash YouTube educator slash thousands of businesses. He swears a lot. He wrote a book called F You Money, which he gives out for free all the time as an ebook. I've read it. It's actually pretty good. But I was watching one of his TED Talks, and if I can find it again, I'll post a link in the description. And he talks about how you can live as if you were rich, even if you don't have a lot of money to work with. And of course, he's in sales, because who isn't? And I don't mean that to be frivolous. I mean, literally, no matter what you're doing, you're probably in some form of sales. You're either selling a product, whether you're a retailer or direct sales or commission sales, whatever you want to call it. You're in some form of, you have to sell something. Psychologists sell their services, and they do so by being good listeners. Retail salespeople sell the products that the stores put up on the shelf by making sure that they're clean and presentable. And in some cases, in more direct selling roles for certain businesses, you do a form of direct sales on the sales floor. A lot of your higher-end clothing and shoe stores do this. Some of them are commissioned, some aren't. Best Buy works that way, where you consult with the customer to give them the best to fit their needs within their budget. And so, and of course in commission sales, whether you're in mortgage brokering, real estate, you're selling just a service as a consultant. I've done consulting in the past. It's an interesting business. I did it once. I took one contract. I enjoyed it to a point, but to another point it wasn't my niche. And I was cool with that. I gave it a shot. I made some money at it. I had a lot of fun to a certain extent, but I realized that this type of work really wasn't me. When you're an author, you have to sell your books, and in a way you got to sell yourself. And so, I like watching sales videos. When I was in college, I studied marketing to a certain extent. It wasn't my first major. It wasn't my last major. Don't judge me. I had a few. I did enjoy marketing. I had a hard time developing some of the skills you need to be a good marketer. Could I do it? Yes. Do I do it? Yeah, to a certain extent I have to. I mean, I'm on YouTube. Of course I have to market myself. But anyway, in this TED Talk, Dan Lok says something that really kind of struck a chord with me. And I'm paraphrasing here because the direct quote would be too difficult for me to remember off the top of my head without having it written down, because I was actually listening to the TED Talk while I was taking a walk on my lunch break. And he said something along the lines of, there's one group of people who, I think he used a limo as an example. And he said there are some of those that say, how can I afford this? And there are some that say, how can I make it so I can afford this? And then he said, his tack on it is, how do I make this make me money? Dan Lok, how do I make this make me money? And I had to think about that for a minute. How do you make buying a limo ride to an appointment make you money? And it struck me, and he went through a couple of stories about making sales and things like that, how he felt at them, what the effect was. But then it occurred to me that people like successful people. And it's not that they like successful people just as a blanket. They like people who look successful. It's a form of charisma. You don't have to be rich, you just have to look like you look the part. It's a form of acting, almost. And I thought about that for a minute. Whoops. There we go. And does that mean we have to be fake? No. Be yourself. Always be yourself. If you prefer to, dress comfortably and just, put yourself out there, and you got the personality to, to make friends without a lot of effort, go for it. But for someone like me who it's a bit tougher, it really kind of struck a chord. And because, a lot of us, we all want to be independent, right? We all want to be financially independent. We all want to be able to do what we want without having to worry about it. And so there's an old saying, fake it till you make it. In whatever field you're in, fake it till you make it. And then I've seen on Facebook a meme that says, screw fake it till you make it, face it till you make it. Face the challenges until you make it through. And really, that's a call to action. And all ads have a call to action of all sorts, because they want you to buy whatever they're selling, right? All salespeople have a call to action. And I've got to admit, I'm kind of one of those, I'm a closet ad geek. I love advertisements, especially well-made ones. And there are two classifications of ads that I really enjoy. The first ones are the goofy ads that you don't think are too goofy until the punchline comes up. Or they're just over the top, like insurance companies right now are pretty famous for producing goofy ads, right? But I love ones that make you laugh. But the other one, there's a string of internet ads that I've run into throughout my life, and I think they've been around for a while. I've been running into these since, well, frankly, since I was able to get on the internet, where you get onto a page and it's one of two things, right? It's either a webinar of some sort that you have no control over the dial to. You can either listen to the whole thing the one time through, or you have to walk away and you can't go back and re-listen to it without re-listening to the whole thing. And the other is like the big letters and colors that, what the hell? Where you have this long HTML string of words that are they go through and they cycle through, and oftentimes there's a lot of circular storytelling, right? And they say, I'll come back to it, and they go in circles several times, and what they're doing is they're grabbing that interest. And I have never bought any of the services any of these ads provide, but I always find them very enjoyable, which they're supposed to be, right? They're supposed to catch your attention. They're supposed to be something for you to constantly want to go back to and eventually purchase their service. And inevitably, the service is something expensive. They're always high-ticket items or services of some sort. In fact, I watched one tonight. It was probably an hour and a half that I listened to as I was doing other things. In fact, I was doing a lot of hunting. And the price point of the thing being sold was $2,000. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I could almost, if I had that kind of money, if I was in the position where I could pay for it, I would almost be motivated to buy, because they did such a good job with the ad. Or actually, I would be motivated to buy it because they did such a good job with the ad. Now, I don't have $2,000 kicking around, so that didn't happen. Shit, there are months in my life where I'm lucky to be able to put, some ammo into my EU account, but that's fine, right? It was so well done. I was really, really impressed. So, and it occurred to me as I was finishing it up, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do for this vlog. Why do I listen to these things? Why do I spend my time listening to ads and things like that? And so it occurred to me, I kind of get a little bit of energy out of them. I kind of get inspired, because a lot of them are high energy. A lot of the video ads and stuff are high energy, especially the long form ads. There's a marketing guy out there whose name unfortunately escapes me at the moment. And honestly, I really need to look it up at some point. I think his first name is Billy. In fact, I'm almost positive his first name is Billy. Problem is, I don't remember his last name, but he's an internet marketing, or he encourages people to start their own marketing firms. And in one of them, the thing that caught my eye with that one is that he said he's in front of his house, and of course it's this giant mansion that looks, obviously he lives this ridiculous life, and I mean, whatever, that's what he wants to do. But at the very end of it, he walks off camera and he goes, okay, wait a second. You're wondering why I'm the asshole who filmed this in front of my own giant mansion. I'll tell you why, because it got your attention. And I thought, that was well done. Yeah, I know, I'm weird. It's fine. It's fine. But no, I was thinking about, you know, you fake it till you make it, or you face it till you make it. You know, if you're in a job that you feel you have a heavy dose of imposter syndrome, right? This is something I run into all the time. All the fucking time. It's just this heavy feeling of imposter syndrome. How can I actually be doing this? There must have been some mistake. And it occurred to me that that's how you do it. You become an imposter until it becomes true. Something Locke talks about in that TED Talk, I've got to find the TED Talk and link it down in the description. I'll make an effort to do that. Is that in order to see him, in order for him to sell the things that he sells, because he sells things that, you know, the price point on them are like 10 grand. And I'm not talking houses, I'm talking like an hour of consulting. Yeah, think about that. Could you imagine being paid 10 grand for an hour of your time? God, wouldn't that be beautiful? But I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. Oh, get comfortable dealing with the demographic that you want to work with. Not just the one you work with now. You need to be comfortable with the people you work with now, but if you've got a target group of people that you want to work with, find out more about them. Spend time with them. You know, get outside that comfort zone so that you can become the person that they are comfortable with. Because if they see how uncomfortable you are with the lifestyle they lead, they are not going to be comfortable with you. And that's a summary of what he says. And it's I mean, that goes beyond paraphrase. That's a summary of what he says. And obviously, I'm not going to be as succinct as he is, because he does very, very well at this. Like, I almost listened to the TED Talk twice. If I hadn't run out of time, I would have listened to the whole TED Talk again. And I probably will at some point in the next couple of days. It's just, it was very well done. I was very impressed by it. And so that's what you have to do. And it occurred to me that's just it. If you're used to looking at these things, like let's say that you just got a job selling tractor trailer trucks. Well, then you need to spend time around them to really understand them. And truckers have a very distinct culture. I'm serious. My old man's a truck driver. And truckers have a very distinct culture. They have a very unique outlook on life, because they're on the road all the time. They are dealing with people driving all the time. And let's face it, there are a lot of really stupid people out on the road. And so, if I had to sell tractor trailer trucks, I'd be in a much better position than sports cars, because I've been around truckers all my life. And when I ran into truckers out in, you know, just in my job, they realized that what they experienced was not new to me. And that changed the way that they interacted with me. And I think that's really important. Boy, this guy is ugly as sin. So whatever it is you do, whatever it is you want to do, do your best to fake being a member of that community. I don't mean be fake. Maybe there's a better way to put this. Don't fake being a member of the community, because that can be very disingenuous. Do your best to integrate yourself into that community in any way you can. Become known. Be humble, but become known. You know, if I guess that's the best way I can put it. This is mostly me just, you know, like all these vlogs, this is me kind of regurgitating stuff I've learned about and trying to process it in my brain. Most of the time I do this through writing, but I'm finding the verbal medium is a lot of fun to work with. And I like to hear your opinions on things. So I'm going to drop that TEDx down in the description. I'll locate it. It shouldn't be that hard for me to find. No, Dan Locke only has like 900 plus hours of video on YouTube in 3-minute segments. And, you know, I'd encourage you to watch it and think about it. But that really brings me to the second half of what I wanted to talk about tonight, which is hilarious because I've gone through the vast majority of my planned time period, but that's fine. You know, you hear me in these vlogs, and I discuss a lot of things that are rolling through my brain, and I put it out there for everyone to see. But 90% of what I need to express, I express in writing. And it's why I started my blog at mcbainmanor.com, and I, of course, keep a journal. And I have loved writing for a very long time. And there were several years where I didn't write at all, at least not in any real manner. And honestly, I think I was doing myself a disservice by doing so, because I always find myself able to focus better, to be able to do more when I write on a regular basis. So why is writing important? And I would encourage everyone to keep a journal. And I'm saying this as someone who only started journaling in January. Think about that for a second. It's a method of self-expression that others see only if you want them to. There's no rule saying that you have to put something you write out for people to see. And I'm not talking about, you know, posts you put on social media. You know, the occasional long-form note aside, most posts on social media are probably not even a handful of sentences. I'm talking about, like, an actual taking time to sit down to write down what's on your mind. And I've received this writing advice more frequently than anywhere else, and I've gotten it from every mentor I've ever had. I've gotten it from ads. I've gotten it from sales pitches. Jeffrey Gitomer, one of the people who I read a lot of in order to start to understand sales, he puts it out there. You need to write. My publisher encouraged me to write every day back when I had a publisher. Writing is a way for us to develop our thoughts in a place that is safe, because as long as we don't publish it anywhere, we can always tear it up or burn it, or we can hold on to it forever. And out of all that, I would encourage everyone, always have a place you can write that's immune to outside scrutiny. So I'm going to repeat that, and I'm going to tell you why. Always have a place you can write that's immune to outside scrutiny. Because it allows you to express your beliefs freely and then scrutinize them yourself away from outside judgment. So, I'm not saying that it means you can live in an echo chamber. That would be stupid. But if your understanding of something, when you write something down, let's say you take a class, and what you're trying to one of the things I've been trying to learn more about is trauma. And after just a few classes and listening to a lot of psychological lectures online from various sources, I have come to the conclusion in my mind that life is a series of traumas. And so I wrote that down, and I unpacked it in journaling. And I scrutinized it. And over the course of the next couple weeks, I often wrote about it in a circular fashion. And that was okay, because that was the point. because I was writing in a place that was immune to outside scrutiny or outside judgment. If you do publish something professionally, I have 2 pieces of advice. Number 1, if you're going to write nonfiction, it better be well researched, especially today. And cite your sources. For the love of God, cite your sources. Because anything you throw out there that would be classified as nonfiction is going to be scrutinized to the point of absurdity. They are going to pick it apart. So you better have your sources down. And citing your sources also helps prevent people from accusing you of plagiarism. Because just blanket grabbing other people's research and calling it, you know, look at all this research I found, but not citing where it came from is disingenuous at best and plagiarism at worst. Cite your sources. Whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, and fiction's really my bigger realm. I've written a lot more fiction than nonfiction outside of the academic setting. In fact, probably 99% fiction outside of an academic setting. Your first draft, 90% of it's going to be shit. You write the whole draft out, let it sit overnight. Go back and find the 10% that's gold. And dump the rest. And I don't mean word for word, I mean the concept by concept, paragraph by paragraph. There's going to be whole paragraphs, there's going to be whole pages, depending on the length of it, is that you just get rid of the whole thing. I've done it. Ghosts of the Past is now free on McBainManor.com. You can read the whole thing. I have revised that book no less than 10 full times. In some drafts I revised and still called it the same draft. 10 times. And every time I polished it. The first 5 or 6 drafts, I rewrote entire chapters, keeping very small amounts of them. Is the book perfect? No. I mean, the book was based on a lot of values and beliefs I had 15 years ago. Has it been 15 years? Yeah, it's been 15 years. I'm fucking old. But I don't think it's a bad piece of work. It's definitely comparatively amateurish compared to how I would write today. But I accept that. We all start somewhere, we all develop. And I'm not going to hide from my past. And now that that's out for people to read, I'm going to go back and I'm going to work on the second book that Rachel Morningvale and I wrote together, called Hunting the Jackal. And I have probably burnt off 90% of those first 3 drafts to rewrite them. And I'm going to do it again until I get it right. And if you want a sample of raw story writing from me, you can read... I wrote an Entropia Universe short. It's in my blog. Go digging for it. Eventually, I will have a separate spot on my site for all of my Entropia Universe fiction or short fictions. I haven't decided how to organize that yet, so I haven't done it yet. The website, of course, as any website should be, is always in development. I'm always developing more things, and it's still very new because I only set it up this month. But it's a good start. I'm accepting it as a good start. But accept the fact that any piece of writing to be good, every author, fiction or nonfiction, I would estimate for every word, no, I won't drill down that far, for every page that they produce, for every page that they publish, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 hours of work and revision and polish on average. And I'm probably, and the better authors are easily double that. Easily. Especially in nonfiction, because when you're doing nonfiction, you need to make sure you're as precise as possible. Because nonfiction is easy to pick apart. fiction, suspension of disbelief, right? That's why I like fiction. I like suspending disbelief. I like having that fun of being able to defy things. There's a character in Hunting the Jackal that you learn later on he enjoys reading while floating in zero-G upside down. Why? Because he can. You can suspend your disbelief. Well, and even that's pretty believable because the whole thing takes place in space. So to me, writing is really an outlet of expression. It's a way to get those thoughts out, to experiment with things that you wouldn't be able to experiment otherwise. Even if there's a lot of things you can experiment in real life with, in thought experiments, by writing fiction, because it's a place that's safe to do so. You know, Star Trek did it, Star Wars did it. I did it in Ghosts of the Past. Terry Goodkind did it in his Sword of Truth series. Oh, crap. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the author. This is one of my favorite series. Terry Brooks. Oh my god, how could I forget Terry Brooks? Terry Brooks did it in the Shannara series. So, I mean, these are all ways for us to experiment with different thought processes. I love writing, and I encourage everyone to give it a shot. You don't have to publish anything. You don't have to make money off of it. Writing never made me rich. I think I made $200 off of the book that I published. And that was after, all the expenses associated with it, because, binding books isn't cheap. But I think that it's a really fun way to experiment, express, and just give yourself room to explore your world. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. I really appreciate all of the support you've all given me. Please make sure that you... Hang on. Please make sure that you visit my website, www.mcbainmanor.com. I really appreciate everything, guys. You all have a wonderful night.